Hi, my name is Georgie Mathers, Technical Art Director of the Tony & Guy Academy London and Label M Professional. And here we are at the work studio shooting our new campaign, Socialised. So the look I'm working on today is called the Soraya. The Soraya encompasses dark hues of steel grey and bitter black to create a soft outer fur edge working with monochromatic tones. The inspiration for the Soraya came from autumn-winter trends looking at outerwear from furs that are working monochromatic hues, and also as well taking inspiration from Picasso's 1937 painting, the Guernica. The Guernica is working a black and white base, and the shapes that are working within it are quite chaotic. It's quite a moody texture within the actual painting, and that's what I liked about it. It was powerful in its presence without the use of too much brightness in terms of colour. So let's go to the studio and let's have a look at the step-by-step for the Soraya. To section off, take a radial parting from the top of crown to top of ear. This separates the back from the front. A teardrop section is worked on the curvature of the head, working with the narrowest part of the teardrop working towards the recession and then the curvature of the teardrop working towards the radial. This could be adapted using a triangle that's more elongated also to create a stronger application of colour. The same shape of a teardrop is worked on the opposite side. From the points of where your teardrops meet the recession areas, take a crescent parting to isolate where your fringe detail is going to be created. This leaves you with a square with a slight curved edge towards the front of the hairline. Prior to the application, I prepped my model's hair using pre-lightener to give me a clean canvas so I could work with the coolest, truest tones of the greys that I'm using today. Starting at the back sections, separating the perimeter sections into 4, starting at the nape, a horizontal slice is taken and product is applied to the roots and working the hairline with our bitter black tone. Then working horizontal slices from the nape, applying bitter black and working into the bottom half of the section and then the top. This method of application is worked until you reach the radial. The same method of working with horizontal slices and application to the root is repeated on the right hand side. Through the side area, the product is applied to the hairline and the perimeter section, and then taking horizontal slices, product is applied to the roots. This is continued until the section is complete. The same method of application is repeated on the opposite side. Product is worked into the length and ends to ensure an even application of colour. The section is then isolated with clear mesh. Take a horizontal slice, apply the product to the length and ends. Another horizontal slice is taken directly above the previous and product is applied through the length and ends. Continue this method of application until the section is complete. Now this is then repeated on the opposite side. Going on to the right hand side, plenty of product is worked through the length and ends. Being on the education team for Tony & Guy is a real honour because it allows us to give back what we are inspired by to other hairdressers, but also as well to our assistants and to our stylists as well. And it's an amazing thing to be able to share our knowledge and our inspirations with other hairdressers. Now this is then repeated on the opposite side. The perimeter section is now isolated with clear mesh. Working on our detail section at the side, bitter black is applied to the roots in a root shadow application. It's important to keep the roots really small so the depth doesn't overtake the detail in lighter colour that we're introducing to the length and ends. Take a horizontal slice to subdivide the detailing section and lay it directly over the perimeter mesh for a more thorough application. Our next tone of Acetra Grey is introduced. Using the square of your brush, the product is applied to the length and ends first, then pushing the product up to meet the root colour. It's important that you don't blend to ensure that you get quite a dramatic, heavy weight line when the finished result is dried off later. The section is then isolated with clear mesh. The next slice of hair is taken using the horizontal parting and placed directly over the clear mesh. Acetra Grey is then worked through the length and ends first and then pushed up to merge with the bitter black. Again, keeping the hard detail and the demarcation that we want to see later. Repeat this method of application until the section is complete. What's really important when working with the Soraya technique, and especially within these teardrop sections, is knowing the length of the haircut is going to be at the end result. So then you know where your root application is going to start and your detailing colour is going to begin. The reason for this is obviously if you're going to be cutting the hair too short, it's going to lose some of that dramatic effect that the Soraya is all about. This method of application is repeated on the opposite side, working my bitter black as a root shadow application first, and then working with horizontal slices and laying the slice directly over the clear mesh from the perimeter, and then my tone of Acetra black is worked through the length and ends and then merged up into the tone of bitter black. Continue this method of application until the section is complete. Working my top section, introducing my third tone of granite, working a perimeter application first, working small roots, working with horizontal partings from the radial back, working the root application first, again so that you create some space for when you're working your detail colour. Looking at my inspiration, what I really wanted to create was something from the picture of Granica. It really has a powerful feel without the use of colour, so I wanted to really transcend that into hair. So what it gives us is something that's not too bold in its actual colour palette, but it's quite a strong image when it was worked with the monochromatic tones. Once the roots are complete, taking a horizontal parting, the first slice is then worked onto a clear mesh and product is applied, plentiful to length and ends. Directly above this, the same method of application is worked and all the length and ends of the top section are worked directly back onto this mesh. This method of application is continued using horizontal slices and product is applied to length and ends. The top section is then isolated with clear mesh. On my final section, a root shadow application is worked again with my tone of bitter black. To create a visor through the front, place a small amount of product on either side of a long mesh and attach it to the mesh that covers the perimeter. This creates a shield, so when applying the fringe detail, the hair can be dropped forward over the face and allows a guide to be created. The first horizontal slice is taken and the hair is dropped directly onto the mesh. The tone of Acetra Grey is applied to the length and ends first using the square of the brush and then worked directly up into the tone of bitter black. The detail is slightly softened because this is the focal point of the haircut. Directly above, a horizontal slice is taken and the hair is brought down onto the previous slice. The roots are stretched slightly longer and the ends are worked with less detail as you progress within the technique. This application will give you a much heavier root within the internal part of the fringe and gives you a softer detail, so it outlines the shape of the haircut. This creates a seamless blend from roots to ends. This same method of application is worked until the section is complete. This section is then isolated with clear mesh. So this is the completed application for the Soraya. The key elements for the Soraya are making sure that the length of the haircut through the sides really marries together with the colour application, so that you're not getting only small amounts of colour but you're really accentuating that length. Also through the front area it's really important that you work more of a blended application, so then what you're not getting is any weight line near the face, because it's something that will create something that's quite harsh rather than quite seamless. The Socialised collection really encompasses different personalities, and I think when we're looking at all the different looks, they've all got their own meaning and also their own inspiration, but they all marry together almost like a group or a gang. The application for the Soraya gives strength to where the length is within the actual shape of the haircut, and gives you drama within the perimeter section. Working with the scissor over comb being slightly more of a deeper tone gives you something that's very, very powerful, but working with the metallic tones through the length and ends gives you a moodier feel to the shape of the haircut. Where we've done the root shadow, working with the length and ends slightly lighter, what it does is it gives us a real dramatic feel to the length and ends and brings out the texture of Philip's haircut. This is the Soraya for the new campaign Socialised.